Anime Last Stand recently got hit with its biggest update yet, the World 2 update, and I'm going to be making a tier list for it in this video. It's going to be a little bit off because we don't have too much info on the units just yet, but I still think it's pretty accurate as a baseline for which ones you should go for. Don't go too hard on me in the comments. If you enjoy, maybe subscribe or leave a like, all that YouTube stuff. Anyways, let's get into it. Okay, to make this list, I'm going to start by using my previous tier list. This was before the World 2 update. If you want to know explanations for these rankings and everything, I'd recommend checking out this video. But I do have some changes to make now after the new update, and just kind of some units that got better, got worse, and then I'll throw in the new ones as well. So the farms are pretty much going to be unchanged. I think these are still the best farms. Yojin is pretty much going to be the best one always, and then Idol is kind of good in Infinite because she buffs range. Let's get started. First I want to kind of move the units around and reorder the tiers, so I'm probably going to move Kafka and Mina down, because they just aren't valuable in the new game modes like Elemental Caverns. Their early damage is not good, and there are a lot of game modes now that really depend on early damage to progress them. So I think that Kafka is probably going to go down to amazing. He can still be really crazy in Infinites, and then same for Mina. I think while I'm here, I found out that Pain has like a 20 multi-hit on his first attack, which I think is really valuable for early waves. I didn't realize how good he was because his stats seem really bad, but he can do like 20 times his damage with the right skill tree. I think he's at least bottom of the meta, very good for Dark Caverns, and has hybrid slow at pretty cheap. Next we have Tatsumaki, which I think I'm going to move up, and I'm going to put her above Pain because her slowdown is really good for how cheap she is. She costs 450, has the slow passive on placement, and she's really good in the water caverns now as one of the only few good nature units to use. Then I'm going to move Rengoku and Frieren up above Division Vice Captain just because their early game damage is a little bit more valuable and they are a little bit cheaper. I'm also going to move Jotaro up now. His damage is a little bit more valuable, and then I'm probably going to move Yu up as well. His damage is really good as well. Other than that, I think this list is still pretty good, other than maybe move Shark Ninja down a little bit, but he's still pretty good. Yeah, I think this looks alright. We can probably go into the new units now. Okay, first up out of the new units, we have Harlequin, or Sloth from 7 Deadly Sins. This unit's pretty good. He is a hybrid option. He costs 650 to place, and he's a heal unit. For the light element though, we do already have Frieren, and he doesn't really have a passive or anything that makes him usable over these units. I mean, he doesn't have anything special about him. His damage is kind of mediocre. With the right trait, he can be good as a hybrid option, don't get me wrong, but I think for now, he's probably just good. He's really not too great. Next we've got the first evolution of Pride Noon. I think this unit is actually surprisingly good. I don't know why he's actually strong for only the first evolution. He gets hybrid pretty early, he's good in the right caverns with his fire element, and then he also gets full AoE for pretty cheap. I think this unit's pretty underrated. His starting damage isn't bad. He can be used as an early DPS while you evolve him. And I'm probably going to put him in at the top of good, but probably right about here as well. Next we've got Aizen. This unit is actually really good for his stun passive. He kind of just completely power crept Green Witch, I guess, because she was only usable for the stun passive. So now I'm probably going to move her down because her value is just a little bit worse with Aizen even existing. She's a little bit less usable. Because you might as well just go for Aizen if you're going to use her. And I think that Aizen is probably going to be an amazing. He's not like meta, don't get me wrong, he's really good. I don't know, for stun support he is really good, but he's pretty expensive for not the best damage. Next we've got Greed, and I know this unit is kind of bugged right now where his passive doesn't work. He's supposed to have a damage ceiling passive type of deal that just doesn't kind of work, and because of that his damage is a little bit mid right now. I'll throw him in good. It's not the worst with the bleed damage that he does, but I don't know, he's gonna get a buff, maybe he'll be changed. He's really not great. Probably above Harlequin, but still not really good. Meliodas, now this unit himself is actually pretty mid. Like, he doesn't do the best damage, he's a little bit expensive, he goes 1.5k to place, he is hybrid on placement though, and that is actually really value after the caverns came out, because in light caverns there aren't many options for hybrid dark, and he is an option for hybrid dark. This unit actually carries me through light caverns. I think that that value is kind of undervalued in him. I know a lot of people think he's really bad, but I think he's actually pretty good for his early hybrid. I don't think he's anything like meta breaking though, and his damage really could use some buffs or something. But he is still top of good. I think he is still very situational on when to use him, but he is really good if you use him in the light caverns at least. Finally, moving on to some meta units, we've got Ulquiorra coming up here, and his damage is actually really good. He is one of the only few nature element units in the game as well, at least the good ones, and for a hybrid option, he's not bad. I think he's probably about here. He's probably not as valuable as Frieren or Rengoku just because he costs 750. These are a little bit cheaper. You can place them on the first few waves. I think that he's probably about here. His damage is really good though, and he is definitely meta for progressive stages. Next we've got Joker. This unit is actually really interesting because his damage is pretty crazy, and he has the Dismantle passive, making him, I think, the only other one in the game with that passive other than Sukuna. So he's very unique. He has a reason to use him, right? No other units can really compete with that Dismantle passive because they can't have it. And then Joker does really good damage as well. He's ground only though, which I think is where he kind of falls short. I'd say he's probably above Shinobu. I'd move Shinobu down a little bit just because her type isn't really needed in Elemental Caverns. Her damage is kind of mid. I honestly kind of ranked her really high, and she's not very usable anymore. Like, she's still good. There are just so many better options that we'll talk about. And I think if there are units that you just shouldn't be using, I want to put them lower so you know, like, you shouldn't even be going for them to begin with because there are better options. Next we've got Arthur, or Night King. This unit is actually very strong for his early damage. He's really cheap, and I'll probably throw him... I don't know, actually. He is really good. He is especially good for infinites because his later upgrades get expensive. He can do some crazy damage, but he doesn't have a passive or anything, and he is ground only. I think I'll probably throw him in Amazing probably right about here, or probably below Tachi as well. For now, I'll throw him in Amazing. He is really good. He is really strong. Next we have Nanami. This unit is by far meta, like not even close to anything else. He is crazy, but he's going to get a nerf. Apparently his passive, which makes him gain extra damage in the first few waves, is bugged and making him a little bit strong. He's really crazy. Like, this unit can pretty much solo carry you through light caverns, or not light caverns, sorry, dark caverns, because he's light. He's full AoE for pretty cheap. He's ground for a while, but I think this unit is pretty crazy, and he has cripple on placement. I'll definitely throw him in meta, and probably like right about here, honestly. He's really good. Maybe even here? Maybe even here. He's really crazy. Next we've got Chad. Chad is pretty awful. I've seen his damage. He's not very good. He's cheap. I don't think he's hybrid either. I'm pretty sure he's just ground, and then he doesn't have anything special going for him. He just has really bad damage. So I'm gonna put him in probably decent. Like, he's pretty bad. Probably like right about here, and if you should use him, probably like even here maybe. Pride the One, obviously, this is going to be the best unit in the game now. I have a showcase on him. He gives your team a 20% damage boost, he gets stronger in the first 15 waves, and his damage is just crazy. #1 on the DPS charts for sure, and he's very cheap to get there. He's insane, guys. This is by far the best unit, and it makes sense because he's the hardest to grind by far. Kakashi is just going to be decent. This unit is actually really bad, like, really bad. I don't know. He definitely needs a buff of some sort. Maybe he'll get an evolution or something, but right now he's just extremely weak for his damage. I believe he has a hybrid fire option, but I don't know. His damage just really makes him not worth it. And finally, we've got Benimaru, which is actually one of the best units of this update, for progressive stages at least. He is a hill unit, he has the Black Flames passive, he does some crazy damage. Apart from Meliodas, he's pretty much the only other meta option for the Light Cavern early airs. So I'm going to throw him definitely in meta. I think he has carried me through so many caverns with people that have him. And I honestly say he's probably one of the best, probably the best hybrid option right now. Like, his damage is just crazy, guys. I do have showcases on all these units so you can check him out, and he's crazy. Okay, now to kind of polish up the list, because I did make some changes that I personally don't really fully even agree with. Butterfly Breather, I definitely moved her too far down to clear out space. String Warlord probably should take her place there. He is pretty bad as a support now. His damage is really awful. Butterfly Breather is still okay with her ground damage, but not the best. I'd say she's probably top of good, at least, and probably about here. Probably about here. Shadow Tanker is honestly a little bit better because of the fire caverns. His early damage is really valuable. I'd say he's probably not past these two. Probably just right about here now. And Aizen is probably better than Arthur at least. I think Joker might even be more valuable than Arthur just because of his Dismantle passive. And yeah, it looks like most of the units this update are kind of mid, guys, but then half of them are also really good. I don't know. These are probably the rankings. There are a lot that I could probably touch up in the good and decent tiers, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of these units, like in the good and decent, I feel like are just completely outshined by the amazing and meta. And with so many options in amazing and meta, I think it's really not even worth talking about too many of these in here. Other than Meliodas, I think he's actually probably even better than I am giving him credit for. I mean, as an early dark option, the only other one on this list for early dark is going to be Benimaru. And I think that Meliodas, at least having that going for him, is pretty valuable in most progressive stages. I was also wrong about Chad. He does get hybrid at upgrade 6, but I still think that he's not worth using for that hybrid because it's expensive to kind of upgrade him. I don't know, for his damage and his cost, it's just not worth, like, I probably wouldn't even move him. Maybe keep him above Jotaro, yeah, but he's still pretty bad. And then, honestly, the rest of the rankings are looking pretty fine. I don't know if there's much I would change, really. Okay, I found a good icon for him, or not a good one, but an icon for him. It wasn't on my list for some reason. This is Shinra, or Burning Hero. I actually completely forgot this unit, but he's going to be just kind of good ground option. He doesn't get hybrid, he's a little bit expensive, and Arthur is pretty much just going to be better than him for the most part. I do think he has pretty good burn damage though, but he is only ground, so yeah, I'd probably throw him probably right about here, yeah. I'm going to add a new tier at the bottom for units that just kind of aren't worth using after the new update. Units that I had on this list previously that just aren't really too good anymore. And that's really either because their stats are bad or they're just completely outshined by new options. Like, I think that all the units in this tier are pretty good. I think that a couple of them you could even argue are meta in certain stages, like Sunwoo and Shanks are going to be insane, Kafka and Mina are going to be insane in infinites only, but I think that if they have a glaring weakness, I'm going to put them in this tier. And I'd probably put Sunwoo above Shanks for sure. Units that are falling off, I do think Gas is getting a little bit out of the meta, and probably Gojo as well. Probably Naruto. Yeah, that's about all I'd have to say. I mean, these units, like, I really wouldn't pick them over anybody else on this list. If you can get anybody else on this list that would do their job better. If you want explanations on them, I did explain pretty much what every unit on this list does when I made it originally. This is kind of just a video revamping this list for the World 2 units. So if you want to check out the original and see my opinions on these units and where I ranked them originally, go ahead and feel free to do so. Otherwise, I think that's it. It might be a little bit scuffed. There are probably a few things I could put more time into changing, but I honestly don't feel like looking at all these units for too much longer because, I don't know, I just don't have too much info to compare them with all the different traits and stuff yet. This is just my first impressions tier list after World 2, and I think it's pretty accurate for the most part. I have gotten to see all of these units in action, and I do have showcases for most of them on my channel, but I haven't, like, extensively used them to the point where I'd be confident changing them too much. I think that these rankings are at least bare bones alright, and don't argue with me too hard in the comments, okay? But do let me know what you think. I do want to hear your feedback, just don't go too hard on me. Anyways, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you in the next one, and have a great day.